what's interesting about BeoSound Shape is that it's so flexible that you can start from a system that starts at maybe 2 speakers, and then our maximum at the moment is 44 speakers. And of course that gives me as an acoustician a challenge, because I need to make make the sound work, no matter if you have 2, or if you have 44, or anywhere in between. But also the shape of this will not look identical in all cases. It's the customer who decides where to place the tiles, and hereby I need to adapt to the design that the customer actually wants. And I can't understand why we need designers, because this is my acoustic prototype, and I think it looks brilliant. It's finished. We've discussed that, one of the heated discussions. But this is in fact the acoustic prototype that I've been working with in order to develop the algorithm behind BeoSound Shape. In a traditional stereo setup, you have 2 speakers, which all corresponds to the number of channels that you have in the music. Music comes as a left channel and a right channel, which is fairly easy to distribute to 2 speakers. So what I'm going to start to show you is what happens when I send the left channel to this speaker and the right channel to this speaker. And then I'd like you to walk around and try to notice where you localize the vocal of the music. And what you will experience is that the vocal will go to the nearest speaker. So when we're standing over here, I will localize the voice as coming from that speaker, and you who are standing on the other side will hear the voice coming from that speaker. And in the middle, in the center line, when you have the same distance to both speakers, you will be in the sweet spot, and then you will localize the vocal to be in the middle as intended in regular stereo. So I'm trying to play music and then try to walk around and experience it. Hey Laura, it's me. So you noticed how the voice was changing position depending on where you were. I'd like to try to make with all these speakers in such a way that you localize the voice in the middle, no matter where you are. So now I'll try to turn on the algorithm of BeoSound Shape for band on the wall, and then you will hear the voice from the middle, no matter where you are, and then you'll have the band distributed around. I'm sorry, but it just couldn't wait. Is there someone else instead of me? Then of course, the next question is, of course, how loud can this go? And how does it compare to other Bang Olufsen products? And of course, the interesting part is that this product is scalable. So you will have a different capability depending on if you have 2 or if you have 44 speakers. And what this is able to do is, if you have 2 speakers, then it will be similar to a set of BeoLab 3s. If you have 4 speakers, it will be similar to a set of BeoLab 17s. With 8 speakers like here, it will be similar to one BeoPlay A9. And if you have 16 speakers, it will be similar to a set of BeoLab 20s. So you have the opportunity to scale up. And, 70. Now I'll try to play some music that there's more dynamics and there'll be more content. But try to notice how you'll still have the lead vocal in the middle and you'll have the band standing around. And I'll also try to play it a bit louder so you can experience the capability of this system. So that's the performance you can expect from 8 speakers in BeoSound Shape. The way that we implement this and how we make it scalable is that we will have one tile that contains all the electronics for 4 speakers. So that means that for 8 tiles like here, we need 2 tiles including electronics. And they will connect using A to B, as Petrus also told you. And that's the you can see the tiles over here and all the opportunities we have in terms of mounting, and Damion will go through that with you.
You can imagine there could be some complexity. How does a user approach a product like this? And that has also been part of our thinking from the beginning. we've always wanted to offer a point of inspiration as a starting point. So we will have a tool on our bangolufsen.com site that is only about creation and inspiration. There the user will be able to configure the design that they want, and based on Jakob's algorithm, it'll tell exactly how many speakers are needed in terms of the sound profile that the user chooses and where they should be placed. So for the user, the only thing they have to think about is how do I want this thing to look. And even going into the installation process itself, that's also something we took in very early in the concept phase, because we saw that this is something that needs to be considered end to end. We have to have a holistic offering to put forward, or this wouldn't work.
Yeah, so how do we do that? Because early enough, on the first validation we saw is that when start to connect more and more amplifiers, if you run a standard analog cable from one to the other, actually the static electricity increases. This just plugs on a normal home outlet, right? And that's where actually we came with this design here, where when the fabric grill sits, actually there are these ventilations from all around. And the key is actually that those ventilations are in all components, not only on the amplifier. So actually it creates a chimney effect all the way from the bottom amplifier, even if it's a speaker or dampening material. It goes through all the components, passes through the amplifiers, and then the heat goes out actually.
We wanted this, in terms of a DIY mindset, to be easily assembled, almost like Lego. And this is a prototype, so if it crumbles in my hands, you can forgive me. But being able to quickly click in and out, these connector pieces that just bring the star rails themselves together in a simple way, so that the user can then assemble it on the floor before they put it on the wall. So if there's any changes that needs to be made, that can quickly be done. And another thing is, because we know walls aren't flat in every home, they have some deformities, maybe where you want to put it up, there's a little lump. There's some absorption and give in the star rail system itself. So this is actually what you attach to the wall, where you attach the tile to the star rails themselves. And we've also built it in so that you can add a leveler to make sure that you have it in the right balance before you put the screws in. So all of this thinking based on the empathy we have for our users, as well as our dealers, to make sure they can do more installations in a day, was critical, and we saw, to the success of this product. Even the connector itself went through multiple iterations. We looked at the actual system to put in and release, and trying to give it the right angle so it didn't require a lot of force from the users, that they can quickly do it was also part of the thinking. The sort of rigidity, the size, and the sort of give that it allowed also went through multiple iterations. And the star rail itself. Even the color of the tiles, because we saw when you have the tiles on the wall, if light comes through at a certain angle, it can cause a lot of reflection. And even the spacing between the tiles. If light caught the wall, you would see the actual partition between the tiles. We saw this as something that we couldn't accept. So, based on the fact that we want to present whatever the configuration the user creates as one system, it was important that everything seemed cohesive and holistic. So we created these gap fillers that go between each tile to absorb light. And the gap filler itself, we saw in the first iteration, had a bit too much glance and caught light from certain angles. So we went more to a matte surface to absorb. So all of this, through and through, is what you would expect from Bang Olufsen. We nerd about details. Yeah. So, and this has a knock-on effect, as I said, for the installers, that for them, it's not about complications going to a site. They can quickly, within a short time, set up and move on. So for them, that's a definite plus. Yeah.
Then we have to do other discussions and find the perfect balance also when it comes to technology. Because this is obviously a product that goes on your wall, and then it has to be very long lasting. You don't want technology to move forward, and then you have something that feels outdated. So we had a lot of these discussions about where do we draw the line of what can be long living and what is kind of more consumable. And that's why we actually decided to take this approach that technology that is kind of moving relatively fast We put in this box, we call it the BeoSound core, and basically that's the engine of the product when it comes to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, AirPlay, Chromecast built-in, Spotify Connect, and so on, right? So kind of the fast-moving technology is here, and of course it gets software updates, and it gets updated often over the air. But when at some point technology comes to a level where you would need this potentially to be replaced, this actually is hosted within one of the tiles. You open the cover, you take this away, you put the new generation, and then the product is up and running with the latest technology. And that's something actually I've been doing for quite a few years with our BeoLab speakers, our high-end, long-lasting speakers, many of them lasting 20, 30 years in a customer's home. So there actually we leave the technology out, and we have a box like that you can actually get all the streaming functionalities. And by now this is basically the 5th generation of box we have. The first one just had the AirPlay, then the second one introduced also Bluetooth. We brought on the third one, Google Chromecast, and so on. So we keep this tradition actually of giving you the best balance of making sure that the product is long-lasting, and then also giving you the possibility to make sure that it's always up to date. Of course, and then if you ask from a technology point of view, it has an optical out, and that's how it actually connects to the amplifier. So it is end-to-end digital. It has a USB connector, so that's how it passes from the cloud. Once you make the design what you want, the settings through Jakob's algorithm are calculated on the cloud. They are delivered here and through USB to every amplifier with a digital interface. So that's how every amplifier knows to configure itself specifically for your own setup. And then, of course, you have optical and analog in if you want to hook up some, of your legacy devices here, and a few other connectors like Ethernet and PowerLink and so on. So that's also a balance to make sure, customers, when they make the investment into Bang Olufsen, feel that this is going to be something that will live with them for many years.
Yeah, and it's a very different product. I think you guys caught that already. I mean, it's nothing that we've ever attempted before. So for us, it was very important that we went through every detail to make sure that we could give a first offering that was something that we could stand behind. Because this is, for us, creating a new category of product, almost a sound as a material for design within the home and creating identity. So we needed to land this in a way that we can stand behind the brand. Because even the badge itself and logo is an option. We know there's some users that like to show off that they have their Bang Olufsen product, and there's some that like to remain anonymous and let the product speak for itself. Because again, design through and through is what Bang Olufsen is about, and you can see that in the sound wall itself. So this actually fits into the star rail system as the last detail that not this prototype at least, as the last detail that the user can then put on the product. So for this, we've offered a bold statement to say, it's up to you. But as Bang Olufsen, we've made a clear statement in the individual tile itself. The way it looks, the base starting point is defined by us, and the user is part of the story to make it finished. So,
did you get that from cars as well? Because I only know from cars that more expensive cars usually don't have the...
Yeah, it was a bit of inspiration also from the clothing industry, because we saw this as a material, and that sort of also led to the inspiration of having it as a tag, aluminum, of course.
Yeah, I would keep it off. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Exactly. Cool. But yeah, maybe we can open up the floor to any questions that you may have.
What is the basic set you are offering? Consists of 4 speakers, 1 amplifier?
Yeah.
Actually, there is not as such a restriction. You can start with 2 speakers if you want in an amplifier, and the streaming engine. Actually, if you want to hook it to a TV, you don't even need the streaming engine. So it's totally flexible. But yeah, the absolute minimum would be an amplifier and 2 speakers. Though then you don't get this band on the wall effect. If you want the band on the wall, you need an array. So then you need to start from 4 speakers. Yeah.
Is it possible to use the system for home cinema?
Jakob.
It also has a PowerLink input, so you can connect it to your BeoVision 11 or BeoVision Avant, and thereby use it as a rear channel or front channel, or as you wish. So the opportunity is open, but we haven't thought this as the primary use case. The primary use case is with the BeoSound core and music.
And that's also where we lean on the strength of our dealer network, because they are very knowledgeable about the brand and what the capabilities are, and for their customers they are always open to realizing whatever vision they have, and are very creative with realizing, also because it's built on a standard platform within our portfolio.
After installation, is needed calibration?
No, it's what was briefly mentioned. Actually, once you make the design on the tool, and then it's actually saved under your account. Once you do the installation, and then you log in with your account, and continue after the physical installation, the digital installation of the product. All the settings are automatically passed based on the design you had started on the web tool. So it's very minimal actually. There's a lot of algorithm work on that.
So it's not dependent on the room acoustics.
No, we don't apply that. Yeah. It depends on the size of the product and where the speaker is placed. Yes.
So in fact, it is going to be customized for the exact setup of speakers, because in order to create this effect, we use gains and delays, and they in order to make this work, we need to know where the speakers are. But it's not essential that it looks exactly like this. I could swap these two and you'll have a similar experience.
How does the system know where you put your speakers? Do you tell the system where the speakers are?
Yes.
Because
in fact, the idea is that you have a web interface where you can build your wall.
I see.
And based on that, then we can get X, Y coordinates out of each speaker, and from there we know where they are.
But actually, you don't say where the speakers are. You say I want this design, and then the tool says, okay, then here it has to be a speaker, here has to be an amplifier, and so on.
I see.
And then based on that, then it also then provisions the settings per speaker.
Would it work if you use two walls, say this wall and this wall?
We haven't been thinking that as the primary use case. It's only sound wall for now, it's not sound walls. But in fact, you could do that if you had a TV where you have more multi-channel opportunities. So with the BeoSound 11 to drive it, that would definitely be an opportunity.
And actually, we see this product now as the starting point, and we expect things like that to come from the market afterwards. And you know, being very modular, both physically but also conceptually, we will be looking, you know, what would be the next things to do. Because for us, this is not just a one-time product we put there. We see this as a very long-lasting project that we'll actually be developing, and it has so many opportunities that we have touched on the conceptual level, have parked for the time being, right?
Exactly.
And then we'll be working actually to bring more and more things and functionalities and elements. We have here things, you know, can it go on the ceiling? Can it go on the edge? Can it be, you know? So there is a lot of opportunities that will be.
If we took in all the opportunities, we'd have a lot of complexity, and you know, something that does some things very well, but not something very excellent that we want to approach. That's why we stripped it down to a simple story and a good starting point, so that we can take a build, measure, learn approach to the next offerings that we come with.
Why don't you do it fully active? Why don't you put the amplifier right into the speakers, into the speaker function?
Yeah,
we considered that, and it has also been in the thought. But the problem is, then you'll need a mains outlet for each of them.
Right.
And also you need you need a power supply for each of them. So of course that we could also say, okay, let's make one box that in fact contains 3 boxes that can drive 16 speakers, but then we wouldn't support the 4-speaker solution. So 4 was kind of the middle way.
And you will be losing some of the acoustical volume for the electronics, right? And then we didn't want to scale the size to something bigger, because that's the analogies that would work. So, but it has been exactly many of these discussions of how much should be active and where it should be the amplifiers. Yes, it was on the table.
But it is still fully active system.
Yeah, I understood.
So it is also contains the normal Bang Olufsen algorithm, like ABL and thermal protection and so on.
Which is the DSP strategy for handle a stereo signal on such a layout? You keep the mono signal in the center.
Yeah.
Some kind looks like a Prologic.
In fact, it's very similar, and we've used the knowledge that we've gained through the development of our true image algorithm that we have in video engine, and it's very similar. But it's just where the true image algorithm is intended for speakers placed around you. This is intended for a lot of speakers placed in front of you, but it is basically the same algorithm, but just with a different configuration. So it is splitting the signal up into mono and stereo and left and right, and then combining these signals in each speaker.
So we also have this optional accessory that's actually already on the market because it is an element that works with our portfolio. It's called the BeoSound Essence Remote, and it's called Essence because basically it gives you the essentials of music. It is wall mounted. It's actually working with Bluetooth low energy paired to the product. So when you come in, you can press the upper button and that starts the music. What it would start actually is what you configure it to do, like your favorite radio station, your favorite playlist. Then you can do previous next, so you can go to your next favorite stations. One button to turn off the music, and then the volume control is a very nice tactile feedback with the ball bearing and the aluminum wheel.
There's the flexibility of not having to lay cable in the wall and drill. We also have the empty backs, so you can take one and put it over your outlet and plug everything into it and still hide it within your configuration.